Hey everybody, Harris O'Malley from DrNerdLove.com. And this week, I want to talk about something that came up during the previous episode. As happens pretty much any time we talk about toxic forms of masculinity and how that hurts society in general and men in particular, somebody will inevitably bring up how impossible it is to be a man now, and on cue, how the Me Too era has made it impossible to flirt with women. In fact, I talked about this in a previous episode when Henry Cavill said something really similar. I've linked to it in the show notes, or you can go check it out by hitting the who is it in the corner. That corner? Anyway, we're going to talk about this again because anytime we touch on the topic of how men could be doing better, we get the chorus of dudes who want to complain about how not being allowed to hit on women whenever they want is gonna be the end of our species. And hey, cool dude, but could you pull up to the drive-thru window already? Honestly, it's a really common complaint that now in the year of our Lord 2019, if they try to flirt with someone, then they're inevitably going to be the perp on the next episode as SVU and get thrown in jail for flirt crimes. It's not actually happening, but some folks aren't going to let that stop them before climbing up on the sexual harassment cross. Now, these comments tend to come in two flavors. First, you have the people who aren't complaining about being unable to flirt, they're saying that they're afraid to. Now, these are folks that I have a lot of sympathy for, and they're why I have so many columns about how to not be creepy. These tend to be guys who have forms of social anxiety, or they're a little awkward, or they don't have much social experience, and like a lot of nerds, they've got the worst superpower in the world. The ability to see the worst case scenario in any situation. They're legitimately worried that they're going to say or do something wrong, creep a woman out, and then everything is just gonna spiral out of control from there. On the other hand, you've got the edgelords, the line steppers, the assholes who, frankly, aren't arguing in good faith. And it's kind of obvious because they're trying to equate flirting with Louis C.K. whipping his dick out in front of people, or Aziz Ansari not recognizing that his date really didn't want to sleep with him, or Matt Lauer giving sex toys to female employees and offering to use it on them, or that weird James Bond villain with the button on his desk that locked his door. Honestly, who does that? What kind of request do you have to send to building services for that shit? Now, the reason I bring up these bad faith edgelords isn't just because they're obnoxious and I get a sprain from rolling my eyes at them. It's because they're trying to muddy the water when it comes to things like the Me Too movement. They want to make a lot of noise to derail the conversation and play the victim in the process. They're the sort of guys who want to create the impression that they're in the middle of some weird Mad Max gender apocalypse and get everybody so exhausted that folks just don't want to talk about it anymore.
That's bait.
And this is actually causing real issues because it's obscuring legitimate problems and playing into the idea that women are on the hunt to bring down any man who so much as looks at them for half a second too long. Case in point, on Sunday, the New York Times released an article about the fact that male managers at corporations are afraid to mentor women or spend time with them on a one-on-one setting because they feel like the issue is just too sensitive to handle. As a result, women are finding themselves effectively locked out of career advancement because a bunch of dudes are more worried about performing risk management exercises than examining their behavior and making changes. And if you think that's not in part because of the meme that Me Too has made flirting risky or illegal, well, then I'm kind of impressed that you worked that hard to miss the point. Kind of like all those managers at the World Economic Forum in Davos. Because like the people who are complaining that Me Too is making it impossible to flirt, these managers are taking a movement that's about recognizing the prevalence of sexual assault and harassment, the near ubiquity of it, and the number of women who've experienced harassment or assault, and they're making it all about themselves. They're looking at all the women who've said, yeah, this has happened to me too, and they're saying, but what does this mean for me? Instead of interrogating their own behavior, recognizing that maybe they need to change the baseline assumptions about how they interact with women, making sure they keep firm boundaries between personal and professional relationships, or just recognizing that some behavior is over the line, they've decided that the best thing that they could possibly do is just try to avoid women entirely and pretend like that is a reasonable solution. These are men who are treating the awareness of a systemic, cultural, and professional danger that women face as a threat to their careers and their personal well-being. And that's what's happening with the folks who keep complaining about how Me Too has changed and ruined dating. Literally, no part of the Me Too movement is about ending flirting or telling men that they're never allowed to hit on women. It's about people telling their stories and not allowing folks to get away with shitty behavior. The guys who are saying that this has ruined flirting, that they can't hit on women anymore, what they're actually complaining about is that they're getting pushback for behavior that wasn't cool before, but nobody felt like they could say anything before now. Now our culture is starting to say that these men are no longer entitled to every woman's time and attention. It's no longer acceptable to try to run game on any random woman because she just happens to be existing in proximity to them. Because, straight talk, gentlemen, flirting hasn't changed. Meeting women hasn't changed. What's changed is that we, as a culture, are starting to recognize that a lot of the ways that men are taught to view women are, frankly, up. And a lot of the things that we used to shrug off as normal guy behavior was normalizing assault and harassment. Now, part of what makes this frustrating is that I'll get letters or comments or replies on Twitter from guys who want to throw down the gauntlet and demand, okay, how do I flirt with women now, smart guy? What do women want? What's the way that I should be approaching women that's 100% guaranteed not to be harassment? And the answer is, you're asking the wrong question. When you're asking that question, you're trying to treat harassment as though it were a flow chart, and if this equals true, then Jim is a harasser sort of arrangement, which is the wrong way to look at it. What makes something harassment or threatening isn't about trying to rules lawyer your way around specific words or techniques. There is no universally welcomed flirting technique because women stubbornly insist on being individuals. Shocking, I realize. What one woman appreciates, another will hate. There are women, I know, I've met them, who genuinely love raunchy humor. They find that sort of locker room talk hilarious, and they appreciate a guy who's just laying out there. Not because they're trying to be some cool girl, but because they genuinely like it. But there are also women who don't like that. They want to be wooed. They want old-fashioned romance, to be wined and dined. They want the flowers and the candlelight and the romance novel treatment, and they find a lot of modern dating to be obnoxious and exhausting. What makes flirting work with any one person isn't about technique, it's about personality. Yours and hers. If what revs your motor isn't what revs hers, then it's not gonna matter what line you use or how you say it, because the two of you are never gonna mesh in the first place. That's why the key to flirting, the most important part, whether you love antagonistic banter or paying compliments or making them laugh, is that it's all about empathy. Flirting is all about mutual enjoyment. You are both trying to build that attraction together, the back and forth, the engagement. Flirting is two-player co-op. By its very nature, flirting can't be one-sided if you don't have that empathy or communication. If that mutual enjoyment isn't there, then all you're doing is trying to impose yourself on someone who isn't interested. Continuing to try to force your interest on someone who doesn't want or appreciate your attention is what makes the difference between flirting and harassment. That is the unifying factor of every #MeToo story in the news. It's about one person deciding to impose their will on somebody else, regardless of how that other person felt about it. Louis C.K. making women watch him jerk off in front of them wasn't awkward flirting. It was his deciding that the things that got him off were more important than the discomfort that it brought to women. Harry Knowles telling women about his Vienna sausage was about his interest in taking things sexual, trumping her interest in trying to keep things professional and just networking. The TSA agent who hit on Brie Larson didn't care about how uncomfortable this might make her or the implications of what it might mean for her to turn him down.
No, Santar, you're misunderstanding me, bro.
I think I am.
Yeah, you are. Because if the girl said no, then the answer obviously is no.
No.
But the thing is she's not gonna say no. She would never say no because of the implication.
Now, usually at this point, there are people who will complain that making any mistake is going to get them in trouble, and that some innocent misstep or saying the wrong word is going to get them brought up on charges. Seriously, you can probably find this in the comments as I'm saying this, go check it out. And to be honest, that's more like the red pill version of the creepypasta subreddit than anything happening in reality. Look, my dudes, I'm recording this in a country where somebody can be credibly accused of sexual harassment or even rape, and as a consequence, they end up with a seat on the Supreme Court. But more importantly, women aren't dumb, and no matter what the red pillars and MGTOWers tell you, they aren't malicious. There is an absurdly obvious difference between someone who said something stupid in the moment and regrets it, and, say, the obnoxious and overly aggressive asshole at the bar. Women don't confuse the former for the latter. And I say that as the guy who's been the obnoxious and overly aggressive asshole at the bar. However, if you want to make sure that you don't make a mistake, that's where the empathy comes in. Be aware of the social context. Are you in a place where it's appropriate to try to flirt with someone? Is there a potential imbalance at play? Say, you're in a confined space with no way for her to leave, or you have the power to detain her and make her miss her flight, or you have her out on a boat in the middle of the lake.
She's not gonna say no. She would never say no because of the implication.
Pay attention to her comfort, to her interest. Make sure that you're flirting with people who want to flirt with you. And hey, if you want to make sure that you are talking to people who are open to being approached, put most of your effort at meeting people in places where folks have opted in to flirting with strangers, dating apps, singles events, bars and clubs. Now, if you make that initial approach and they're not down with it, then cool. Peace out, Cub Scout. Nobody is going to fault you for taking no thanks like a gentleman. Just remember, flirting is a mutual exercise. Both people need to want to participate. It's that magic ingredient of consent that makes all the difference. So focus on that empathy and learning how to build a mutual connection. And if it's not there, then dude, move on. And hey, if you think Me Too has ruined flirting, then just ask yourself, why is it so important for you to stick around where you're not wanted? Hey, thanks for checking out my latest video. So, you've heard from me, now I want to hear from you, especially for my viewers, male, female, non-binary, guys, gals, non-binary pals who sleep with men. I want to know, what is the best way a guy has ever flirted with you? Share your stories in the comments below. I know I'd love to read them, and my subscribers would love to read them too. Meanwhile, I am still taking your questions for the Nerd Love Line special. Yes, it's still coming. I'm working on scheduling issues with my co-host, making sure that we've got enough questions to, hey, maybe get a couple of episodes in the can before we start premiering them. So if you would like to be part of this, if you have a short dating question that you would like to have answered on here, then you can call it in to 512-522-6513 and leave a voicemail, or you can record it on your end and send the audio to doc@drnerdlove.com, and be sure to put "for YouTube" in the subject header. And speaking of voicemails, if texting is your weakness, if using the phone is your phobia, then you need to check out my book, I Got Her Number, Now What? If the idea of calling someone you're attracted to is your vision of hell, then this is the book for you. It is your instruction manual about how to get over your fear of phone calls and learn to use texting, messaging, even DMs to become a dating Jedi. Links to buy it are in the show notes, so go check it out. And if you do check it out, or any of my books, please be sure to do me a huge favor and review it on Amazon and Goodreads. 5 stars in review is a huge help. Now, if you're digging the series, you know what to do. You've been here, you've done that before. Hit that thumbs up, share it with your friends, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it on, I don't know, what are the kids using these days? Curious Cat. But if you are really digging these videos, and I mean really digging them, if you are getting a lot out of them and you're finding that they're really helping you, and you want to support the channel and, hey, maybe help fund some of these awesome new projects that are coming up, then consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/drnerdlove. Even $1 is a huge help, but starting at $3 a month or more, you get access to some incredible bonus content. Meanwhile, you can follow me on Twitter at @DrNerdLove. Keep up with the latest news by joining the Facebook page at facebook.com/DrNerdLove. And as always, hit that logo to subscribe, check out my other videos, and I will see you here next time with more about love, sex, and dating. Later.